And good evening, Star Wars fans. As always, it is Wednesday, so we have another episode of Holotheatre. As always, I'm Dan Tartaglione, also known as D Tartag1. Joining me tonight is Mr. Andrew Moss, also known as Wend on the forums. How are you doing today, Andrew?
I'm doing well. How about you, Dan?
You know what? I can't complain. It's a Wednesday. I mean, I took off two
Set
weeks.
drop.
Huh?
I said the set dropped on Gemp. You can't really beat that, Dan.
Okay, I mean, I'm glad the set has dropped. Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna talk a lot. We got nationals. We got errata to talk about. We got swing and a miss. Let's start with the thing that you just mentioned about the set 15. Set 15 is live and on GEMP, as you can. So let me pull this up really quick, showing you. If you want to know that set 15 is live, well, it's easy. Just hop on over to GEMP after you're done watching. Obviously, go into the deck builder, and if you can see it right here. Oh, that's the card type. Down to set 15, and boom! Live set 15 cards. All these wonderful, wonderful images, all live on GEMP. So, first off, let me say, congrats on getting us the set out. I'm happy to see the new set and everything. So, what part of this? So, according to Chris Kelly, who basically said offered you up to the masses today to represent him, uh, you worked on the set. You were part of the pods, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So, what aspects did you work on in the pods, and like which direction did you go with set 13 or set 15?
So it's a great question. When Chris wrote about the pods, Rescue the Princess has been a theme that I think every one of us has tried to make a virtual version in one
Mm-hmm.
aspect or another. And it's one of those themes where you you want to play on the Death Star. No one plays there. Like there weren't any cards for the light side really to play. And if you did
Yeah.
face a Rescue the Princess deck, it was typically a negative experience because one side is just trying to run the princess over as quickly as possible. The other's trying to stop it. And I didn't feel there was as much strategy because you'd have like speeders involved. Like there was nothing really thematic about it. You're
Mm-hmm.
basically running around, pathing around. And so I've been working on this concept for a really long time. I sent it over to Chris. Apparently, Lenny also sent his version over, and so that was kind of the beginnings of it.
Okay.
And the other pod members were just jumped on board. So we started from the very outset, just kind of gathering our thoughts in a one big kind of thought board on Slack, and we just started dumping ideas, and it was great.
Okay. So let's actually bring up the image of the objective. So again, you said that you wanted to stay on the Death Star instead of going, oh, we're just going to run to Yavin 4 and everything. So, where did you guys come up with the idea of sticking around with the Death Star and building these brand new sites for the deck?
Well, if you go back, there aren't any sites really that the
True.
light side really wants to play on. Especially with the coward shield out, like half of them are non-battlegrounds, so you can't force
Yeah.
drain. So that's a big issue. And I think I think this was one of the big misses of Decipher is you've got this huge battle between the duel between Obi-Wan and Vader,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Yeah.
fact is that's not reflected. You've got almost every major battlefield. You've got the third marker. You've got the back door. You've got obviously the central
Mm-hmm.
core, but you don't have the Death Star. And I think that was a real miss. That was missing that I think a lot of people wanted to play
Yeah.
through.
I,
And
I, can,
so
I can see that.
yeah. So it was that, and then the incorporation. So how are we going to make these battlegrounds so people are enticed to be able to actually stay on the Death Star as opposed to again hopping off and then creating a different type of deck and maybe
Mm-hmm.
making it more aggro necessarily than a control type deck. So that was
Okay.
the idea behind it. The idea that I initially pitched was kind of the power loss concept. So that was something that I'd come up with probably 2 or 3 years ago. The initial pitch when I first posted it to the group was it was actually the light side that stacked cards, and it would give you the option to stack cards at any point. You had to stack three either from your hand or lost pile. So it would give you the
Okay.
option of almost like some additional retrieval that wasn't counting as retrieval. Well, we talked a little bit more about that. Chris gave his input, and we decided upon kind of the dark side being the ones who would ultimately stack, since it would be another force loss mechanism, and also it would give a way for the dark side to preempt you from actually flipping at various
Okay.
times. So we had that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was actually the only aspect to the objective I had. It was then that
Okay.
Chris and Lenny and Fungineer and a couple other folks, CRG, talked about the actually rescue the princess again. So I had actually retitled the entire objective to be something else.
Okay.
So then we went back and we added the rescue the princess part, which I think came out really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
So making Han and Luke, well, Han obviously making TK-42 actually playable as opposed to a nondescript undercover spy who can only deploy on certain locations very rarely.
Yeah.
And then having Luke be able to actually deploy and have some, firing power, so to speak, between slight weapons malfunction V and the other cards, I think made a huge. It makes it fun. It's a really fun deck to play. I hope people enjoy it.
So, okay, so let's start again with your big aspect of the deck, which is a power loss. You started again making it retrieval and everything, so we're going to start with this one actually. It deploys on the central core, which again is a new site, and at any point, I like how it says Leia may not modify drains or force drains on the Death Star, so that way it makes you want to turn off the power.
Right.
uh,
Right.
so I know this card went through some play testing issues and everything. Do you want to tell us a little bit about those, or like where did it start from? Because you said it started from retrieval and then it went to the dark side losing cards, correct?
Right. So what I initially pitched was having the light side be the ones who stack the cards, but it didn't even ever go to playtesting with that concept in mind. So
Mm-hmm.
it then morphed that the dark side could stack up to 4 cards. Well, so, but the challenge that we were facing during play testing was basically, was it worth the dark side stacking the 4 cards?
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing that we noticed, so the deck always had the activation +1, but initially, like, the central core didn't have an additional icon to it, so it
Okay.
only had 1 icon. So there was a lot less activation, and we were seeing map and hunt down just pound on the deck. And so if you were stacking 4 cards and they're out activating you like 18 to 10 because they pulled the bridge and the tower,
Mm-hmm.
etc., there was no chance for you to do anything, especially after they stacked the 4 cards. So limiting it to 2, but then actively, inhibiting the light side as well with,
Yeah.
not having the princess be able to add to her force range, which I think is a crucial aspect. I think makes it really interesting.
Okay. So yeah, and you're stuck with starting Princess 2187. I know that some people have toyed around with getting just Persona replacing her into General Leia, and running the gun and everything, and just runs around on the Death Star and just not worrying about the power loss. But so, and then once you do turn off the power and flip, what are some of the why do you want to flip this objective?
It's a great question. We got a lot of questions about that during playtesting. Like, what exactly does this do? So this also went through a number of iterations, and I'll be honest. I think this deck starting off is a tier 2. I don't
Okay.
think we had the intention of it being a tier 1 right off the bat. We want to see how people kind of use the cards, and then based upon whatever happens, then Chris and D&D can kind of go through and make additional cards that may be those little helpers, so that it doesn't come out like Hunt Down V, where it seemed to just dominate the meta coming right out from
Yeah.
the
Oh
outset.
yeah. I think hopefully Chris learned his lesson, or else I'm going to have to talk to that boy.
Well, there you go. I think it was. I think we got in a good place where it's going to be competitive enough that I think you're going to see some interesting builds. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what I really like about it is I think it incorporates almost all aspects of the movie, which to me is most people know, like, I'm a huge thematic guy. That's the way I play all
Yeah.
my decks,
Oh yeah.
and so the way that it works, you can think about Obi-Wan, standing on the hangar, like waiting for Vader, and it actually is a really big hindrance for Hunt Down. If you hold that site and then you deploy it on the other side, and Vader is
Mm-hmm.
deploying at the central core, he can't drain there now. If Obi-Wan's sitting there alone, and we've seen a lot of EPP Obi-Wans there because he's immune to attrition. So
Mm-hmm.
now you've got someone who can swing there. If you've got any sort of blaster proficiencies, anything like that, he can hold it pretty well. You hold it,
Yeah.
Hojix, or
I think we lost Andrew here for a second.
You
So,
place yourself out of play, and you cancel.
yeah, and
So
I mean that seems like it's a good strategy. Like I remember back in the day when I forget who played it back in the Death Star 2 format, where you would run the forest, you just run
right,
EPPs and everything, and you just run the blaster comp, like the blaster, or sorry about the mess in those.
yeah,
So let's start off with some of the helpers. Do you want to start off with the? Let's start off with the effect, the Cell 2187.
sure,
So this one is if Leia is imprisoned, you can deploy on the table. I like that set 8 Luke is now a stormtrooper. They're Han, Leia, and Luke are immune to Never Yarnall and put all sections on alert. That's a good thing because that card would just hose this deck. And
right.
then you can deploy the sights. So it seems like a pretty solid card right off the bat. I mean, it is one of your 3. It allows you to do stuff, and it makes your characters a little bit like it makes Luke into a spy, so he can just deploy. And like you were saying, like even though the sites aren't battlegrounds, now you have a way to get to them with your at least your main characters.
Correct. I mean, and what I like about it is you can, with Luke being a spy, with Han, obviously the new Han being a spy too, you get down to the characters, or if you want to, if they put Van A at the Holotheatre, you can play Luke there and like beat him down. So
Mm-hmm.
there's other ways you can kind of look at the deck, but
Yeah,
the Cell
that's
of
a good point.
2187 is, I think, really, really good. It's the crux for the deck. The only, I think, downside to it is you have to start it. You can't play this deck legitimately without having that as one of your starting effects. So you are
Yeah,
down to 2 effects that you're going to choose. We've seen a lot of Walkling. We've seen a lot of Sitor, which I think is a great choice.
yeah,
Obviously, supplemental damages, I think is what it is, the one where you can
yeah,
put your blasters back in.
yeah.
So that one also goes, or, good blaster at your side are kind of the common ones. So
Or you play
um,
aim high, just the generic
to
aim
shoot the hell out
high,
of them.
shoot
Yes.
twice, and you get plus what 5 in battle.
5. Yeah. Well,
Why
imagine that,
not?
and then well, you do. So it's interesting you mentioned that because you think about that, and then if you place Obi-Wan out of play and Luke's fire, like you get Luke firing with Han,
Yeah.
you've got plus 10 to a battle, and then if Luke's firing, you can also add a Destiny to power. So
Yep.
that's a whole lot coming at you. If Darkseid's not ready.
Yeah. And I kind of like that. So let's talk
Yeah.
about these new sites. So we're going to start with the central core because again, you need this one on the table for the power loss. So I like that it is a 2/1. Uh, and then it's a 4 string +1 there. And I like how it's a little bit thematic that they lose the Death Star tractor beam.
Tractor beam. Yeah.
And
It's a
I
nice
mean,
little nod.
right off the bat, I mean, those were just recently coded into GEMP, so you're not going to have a tractor beam if
Nope.
with this deck. And then, I mean,
Yep.
it's nice because it seems like to me though the the dark side's gonna just turtle on this location. It seems like.
Well, and so that was I think a concern a number of us had in the pod, like that, you were going to have this mass. The fact is you can battle elsewhere. And I think
Mm-hmm.
you have enough damage that even if you don't have Leia's +2, and so you're not necessarily flipping, etc. You're pinging with 3PO, you're pinging with Good
Mm-hmm.
Blaster, or if you're using Rebel Artillery, you've got the 4 strain sites with the 2-2 now, and you've got a couple other sites. Not to mention that you can now turn the new cell block corridor into a battleground itself with R2D2, which is easier to pull than
True.
3PO.
Well,
So
does he pull? So okay, let's talk about that 3PO really quick. So the new 3PO. Once per turn, you can play. So he does have that little bit of 3PO with his parts showing. You can put a card back, but now you activate a force, or you can pull a New Hope R2. So you can pull the virtual one as well as the non-virtual one. Correct?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So I like that. And then yeah, if he's with a rebel at a mobile battleground, they lose 1 force. So kind of like a BB-8, kind of like a 3PO mix. So
Yeah.
not bad.
No. No. I mean, it's hard to compete with this parts showing. So we tried to do the
Yeah.
best we could. I think that the R2 is a nice little touch to be able to get them both together. And who knows?
Mm,
Potentially you could go after them potentially with what's the six Destiny interrupt from Jabba's palace droid. The ones with their
R2, I have
ears.
a bad feeling. about this?
No, that's a good one too. But no, the one where you put your droid out of play and like
Uh,
it
uh,
like stops things.
don't forget the
Don't forget the
droids.
droid.
Yeah,
Don't forget the threads. Yeah. Or maybe I'm thinking of an old virtual card. That also could be it at this
yeah. There's
point.
been so many
Uh,
virtual cards throughout the years. It's
yeah.
ridiculous. But no, I
Yeah.
mean, I like the 3PO. He seems thematic. I mean, he doesn't have really high destiny, but I mean, he still seems pretty good.
He
Especially
does.
even any deck. Like at this point, like
Right.
I would play him in like no idea. Like,
Yeah. Well,
well,
he's perfect in Hitco. In Hitco, he's great because you can't play
yeah,
cards showing, and now he can ping at the Death Star corridor or that Death Star
that's
site, the
true.
Chasm Walkway.
Yeah,
So you've got that in your back pocket.
so I mean, and the fact that it has to be an interior mobile location, QMC
Correct.
is
Yeah,
another
that's
one.
another
Yeah.
one. Yep.
So I mean,
Absolutely.
the 3PO is doing a lot. We do have a few more sites to look at. The other ones were the detention block and the hangar. The detention block, it's now received an errata. You now can just use 2 force to release Leia and retrieve a
And it
force.
and it also has a scope link now, which the original does not have. So
Okay.
R2D2 now turns on there, so you can turn it into a battleground if you like. That's the other thing that was really important to it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's pretty good. And then I think the best location again is the hangar bay. It's being that it's a 2-2.
it's a 2-2. Obi-Wan's immune there. And again, if you play Vader on the wrong side of the Death Star, unless you have your own lift tube or you've got Nellis,
Mm-hmm.
it's a long walk. And a lot
Yeah,
of those are going to be non-battlegrounds for you to flip back if they're playing Hunt Down.
yeah. And then there is one more site. We have a virtual trash compactor. I love the trash compactor. I'm so glad you guys put this card in this.
It's one of those cards that I think I pulled one of my first packs, 25 years ago. Mine is so like crumpled up. I can't wait to pull it out, like, because you've never used it, right?
Right?
It's a card that's always been like a placeholder rather than actual card that you'd actually stick in a deck. So
Yeah,
I'm excited to use that.
it's funny because that was one of the first deck building challenges was the build a deck starting the trash compactor.
Factor.
So it kind of makes me
So it
happy.
comes back. It's going to be a little bit easier now.
And then again, we do have again one the new Han Solo, the TK422. Glad to see him finally be playable.
Yeah. Well, and he went through a lot of iterations as well.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, he was, he was going to be able to shoot twice if opponents, you had more dark side characters there than light side, which we thought was a kind of a nice touch, given him he's running around. But what we found is too many people were playing solo, like they just didn't feel like it was worth it. So
Yeah.
we kind of bumped up his benefit, and so now he can draw on his own if he has the blaster, or he can draw two now if he's with Luke. Um, and also canceling trooper assault, I think, is not a small thing given the
No.
prevalence of that and a couple other base cards or decks
Yeah.
that are centered around troopers.
So does he himself add a +1 because he's a trooper to his weapon destinies?
Correct. Yeah. So he's shooting at +2 automatically, and we heard a lot of folks talk about, well, we'd love to be able to see his heavy blaster pistol, which excludes TK422 specifically.
Yeah.
Maybe down the road, maybe that's something that's considered, but at least right now, I think no one wants to see, Luke popping off like Sidious, because he's shooting with a whole bunch of, he's got Luke there, and, he's got a couple other things, probably not Sidious, it'd probably be Snoke, right? Because they've just launched all their entire map crew
Yeah.
at you, and you are literally shooting Snoke, probably drawing a 2. So that was kind of the concern around that.
I see him.
And that being control phase. He can still do it. It just has to be in the battle. Or,
True.
sorry about the mess. Yeah.
So if we're thinking of a card that Han is going to be shooting, again, you said you mentioned this card earlier, the slight weapons malfunction. That card, you can pull a stormtrooper. You can cancel somebody targeting a trooper, which is now Han or Luke, or Chewie, which is nice, and then you can add Destiny if they fired a weapon. So pretty solid used interrupt, Destiny 4.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, the benefit behind it is now you've got some weapon protection, which we were always concerned about, because Han actually has the armor for 5, so he's a little bit harder to hit than Luke is right now. and now this kind of gives him an extra bump. And Chewie's a walking target with his,
Yeah.
his two destiny. So this can stop an IG-88, an EPP IG-8. It can stop a Dengar. A lot of things that could be really a mess for the left
True.
side. So.
So here's a question: are we going to see a stormtrooper, a new Luke for this deck?
So we played around with that, and obviously there is that iconic image that folks think of is "I'm here to rescue you." The challenge is we built the deck with blasters in mind, and the Luke from episode from V8
Yeah.
is Rebellion's Hope, and that was when my brother and I thought of this, we really wanted a deck that was built around blasters. So we kept playing back and forth and trying to figure out how we could complement Rescue the
Mm-hmm.
Princess specifically, and we just kept seeing the benefit of kind of Rebellion's Hope. And I think it may have been CRG, it may have been Lenny, who was like, why don't we just drop one of these and let's just stick with Rebellion's Hope? And because he's now a Stormtrooper specifically,
Yeah.
he's gotten a lot of play. And what's nice seeing with Side-Tour is you can't just drop a Dark Side main anymore without a Force Field if you know you're going up against this deck,
True.
because he'll cancel your immunity immediately. And
Yeah.
so, or he can even add to unless you're a Dark Jedi Master, you can possibly break the immunity too
Mm-hmm.
if he adds to attrition. So he's
True.
you know he,
Hey, he's still a
he's
decent card.
solid. He's got a place. He's finally got
He
he's
finally.
finally got a home.
Well, I mean, he was seen
He
play
got
in
a home in
like
space.
space, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I like how you designed some weapons for this deck. Stolen Stormtrooper Blaster Rifle. You can deploy on a Rebel or a Stormtrooper. Can target characters, creatures, vehicles. Uh, Destiny hit if you add one when targeting a vehicle, +1. So, and then it has that can't be satisfied for attrition. I like that text on weapons now. I like how uh, D&D has essentially adopted that instead of just making their forfeit 0.
Yeah, I agree. Because no one. It's important to have your Hojix gets in there, but it's nice when you don't get blown out first turn because someone makes you forfeit 0, even though you had a big, a high forfeit person who now it's nothing. So credit goes to Lenny for that one. He was the one who came up with the Stolen Blaster Rifle. It's a good card and very widespread use. So you don't have to only play it in this deck.
Yeah,
You can play it in other decks as well. So if you're looking to play aim high, regular aim high, this is a perfect way to do it.
yeah, I agree. And then on top of that, there's another weapon out there, the Uncivilized Blaster. This one, it can go on any warrior. You get +2 to target, and then if it's Koron, Kanan, or Obi-Wan, they can't be used for attrition, and they lose a force. So explain to me why Koron and Kanan. I get the Obi-Wan, but why those two?
So I can't. So this was not part of our pod, so I can't.
Okay.
I have no idea. But what I think is really interesting is if you're going for the pings with a good blaster, and you can download this from Saitor on
Mm-hmm.
your Obi-Wan. So then you have a choice if you want to use the blaster to ping during your turn, and then you can next turn you can use the
Yeah.
lightsaber to attack you. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
When I saw this card, I was kind of interested. So again, you pretty much worked on the rescue the princess stuff, correct?
Mhm. Yep. Yeah.
So
That was the predominant stuff.
okay, because on top of that, I mean, we got we got so much. I mean, we didn't get a lot, but we got
I'm excited.
some good stuff. Like one of the cards that I was excited about was first of all Kestis. This is a player design card. First of all, the image is really good, and
It's phenomenal.
it's kind of different. I mean, he's a rebel slash Republic character. Interestingly, he's a rebel. Like I didn't get the feel of him being a rebel in the video game, but maybe that wasn't me. But yeah, I like this one. Another deck that I saw is going to get some help was actually a dark side one, and that was. Uh, I'm drawing a blank on the deck tonight.
Shadow Collective.
Thank you, Shadow Collective. Uh,
Yeah.
First
Seen
we
it played a
have
lot on. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's been played a lot, especially in the Jawa format. You know what? It's a fun deck,
It's a monster. Yes.
but at the same time,
is.
it's so annoying. I Maul. I'm an advocate
Oh,
for.
it's so hard.
He is such a tough character to get rid of.
Yeah.
I want to say I was playing a game myself the other day in the Jawa, OA versus Shadow Collective. And thanks to Apollyon for the deck list, it's I'm 3-0 with it right now. He runs Ahsoka with lightsaber in the deck.
Oh,
So
interesting.
went down with Ahsoka against Maul, swung, would have hit him. He minuses one and then plays Dark Time to -1 again,
Uh,
and I miss. And I can't cancel it. I can't do anything. Like I
right.
can't cancel.
That
Like it's so annoying.
he
I,
is. Yeah, he's a mess. Well, that's where I kind of like. Again, if we want to go back to Rescue the Princess, you can drop Luke on him because you can cancel his immunity. It doesn't matter
yeah,
what he plays, right? That's
yeah,
the one thing that you can do. But yeah, he's that deck. I think is gonna, especially in the hands of a really good player. I imagine it almost like an agent's deck where you're manipulating a whole bunch of things. You can recirculate. You can between defensive fire V, all these little tricks and things
yep.
that you can do. It's a dangerous deck. That's one that I don't have a game plan against right now.
Avoid it. But yeah, no. In that deck, I like how we got Danik Jericho. He's pretty good. He's going to be a nice fit for that deck. But on top of that, the card that really has me excited is Rook.
Mhm.
We finally have a I don't know. I'm not going to pronounce it. I am so bad with like pronunciations and everything. Noguri. We finally have the Noguri from.
The fact that you rolled your tongue was perfect. I think you nailed it right there.
But no,
Absolutely nailed it.
yeah, I'm so glad we have this character, and he's going to be so good in the Shadow Collective deck.
Mhm.
Like I'm more. I mean, I want to play him with Thrawn. Like I really want to put Thrawn in the deck just to be a little bit thematic.
Well, I mean,
It
we
just
only have three Thrawns right now. I think we really need a fourth that is going to like pair really well with this guy.
right.
Why not? Right?
I want
Yeah.
to see. I want to see the artistic Thrawn from Rebels. Like I know we have the General Thrawn. Okay, he's okay, and then we have
Yeah.
Tom Haid Thrawn, who's the alien. He represents like the Chiss and everything, and we have the Grand Admiral Thrawn. When he was from the books and everything. But I want another Thrawn. He's the best character. Especially
I,
as spoiler alert. I mean, especially if you watched season 2 of The Mandalorian. Like
absolutely.
that's
Yep.
gonna like we're gonna need another Ahsoka. I want so many characters from that show. Like I can't wait.
That it's a phenomenal show. Speaking of that, like I think the player card design on Dijurin, and that one's a hard for me to pronounce. The
Oh
Mandalorian
yeah,
himself, great card, great card. I think very well designed by the player who designed that. So kudos to that
yeah.
person.
So on top of this, on set 15, we also received a few cards that got errata. We're gonna start off. We'll just go down in alphabetical order. Daughter of Skywalker. Now she works a little bit better with like Rebel Strike Team, Hitco. Goes a little bit away from the whole mind what you have learned aspect, but she's pretty strong. You get she kind of has that Tiderian aspect to her where you can add an icon. Uh, you can just send characters away. Cancel game text, power minus. So and you're immune to sniper, and you are beaten. You can't get
Well,
better than that.
she's the full package, right? And she protects all your weak scouts
Yeah,
simultaneously. So I
like
mean,
kind of
I
like
was talking to
she
yeah,
reminds me of Queen Amidala.
absolutely. I mean, I think the thematic nod is definitely there. What I think is really interesting is people are saying, well, how are you going to get her out? Well, there's that old card I know. So if you're pulling solo first turn, now you're hoping they don't have to
Well,
cancel it,
there's a
obviously.
card that came out. I want to say
Anakin Skywalker?
Anakin
Yeah.
Skywalker gets her
Yeah,
out.
correct.
So, oh wait, Hitco doesn't have a Leia to play. Well, now it does, people. Of course, Chris Kelly's not going to abandon his little baby.
No, it's a solid deck again, and I think I'm really excited by that card alone because I think it makes Rebel Strike Team a
Yeah,
legitimate threat now.
I agree. Tebow's like chomping at the bit over in Germany right now.
I think he is.
Like I'm
Well,
so
even
glad. I'm
just
so glad that guy has all of his Java games done.
I mean,
On
he's going to
top,
go out. Yeah,
but on top of that, I want to say what Darkseid received 4 erratas. The first one being Alice and the Hinthra. Now it costs 1 force to deploy the smuggler, and it no longer adds to the light side icon, so no more draining for 3 at the light side Tatooine. Court takes a little bit of a hit there, but
It definitely does.
Still,
I think the
still
Space
Court.
Cruiser though is the bigger one.
Yeah,
The next one, that one hits hard.
yeah. When it's deployed, you can deploy the alien leader aboard, and it's not for free. That's
correct.
I'm gonna say this. Like, I can see, the fact that it's -1 already from the objective. That's fine. I would say at a -1, even this would have been fair, or anything but the free. But I mean, this hits a little hard. This one really hits it. Now, if you're Joker King, and I know he's in the chat right now and he's watching us, he doesn't care because he doesn't run the space cruiser.
I mean, and now he's showing us all up why, because he knew this was going to come. Well, I mean, for all of us QMC folks out there, we can rejoice because having that come down first turn, you'd have to drop the.
Well, come on,
Professor Shield.
Well, no, you don't, if you're running QMC, you just run Lightning Claw.
Well, yeah, okay. Yes, if you play that,
you go more NPE.
Yes, exactly. We're just going to dive right into it.
And then another court that received a hit was Paul Nababa. He no longer adds the +2 to attrition. I think that's fair. Mm-hmm. Like, great. Don't get me wrong. The fact that you can pull him with the Ellis and Hinthra, you just match him up with Wolf. Those 2 cards. I mean, Joker. I know Joker King's crying right now because his baby, his court deck took a little bit of a hit. But come on, man, it needed to be watered down a little bit. And then
there's a reason why I got banned on the Jawa. I mean, if Scum gets banned.
Oh yeah.
That
was a good banning. Like, okay, leaving CCT in court, that's fine. Scum itself, I see no problem with that.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the errata that people have been clamoring about since it came out, the Dead Speak is now errata. You now have to start the Exegol throne room on the table, and that's going to cut down a little bit with the activation. Yeah, you can pull the battleground system with this card. It also cuts down on the attrition against your opponent, and it no longer works with Pride. It works with Snoke, Rey, and Kylo. I think that's fair. It kind of makes sense a little bit more than just working with Pride because he already has a +3. I do like that it cuts down all the activation. You now have to start the throne room. Map's still good though.
It's really good. I mean, I think this slows it down a little bit, but in no way do I see that this is like the dagger that some people are saying it is.
And then last but not least, their tracking us got an improvement. So it still does the whole add 1 or subtract 1. It does the whole activate, but on top of it now, it will cancel close call. It cancels gravity shadow, cancels overwhelmed, and it cancels they've shut down the main reactor. 4 annoying cards. Yeah, this is going to go. So again, it's going to start going back into decks. Like,
yep.
I thank you, Chris Kelly in design and CBT. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like playing close call. I think it's fine. It's a fine card, but it does need a counter. Gravity Shadow needs a counter. Overwhelmed needs a counter. Like, I don't know how many times, and I've done it to people. I've dropped lat damage on the Falcon from OA and just sent it out of play.
Yep. Yeah, so. No, this was really needed, and I'm glad. I know that 4 is a lot for a canceller, but all of those, they just don't feel good when they happen to you. And certainly, there's ways that you can counter them elsewhere, but it's a tough pill to swallow sometimes. So I'm glad they came out with this, and it's going to be a 1 of, and maybe a 2 of, but it also has good text that's used, which I also like. So subtracting 1 or adding 1 can't be overstated as being really helpful, depending on what it is.
No. So Andrew, let's talk a little bit about you. So you are part of player design. Is that correct?
Yeah, PlayerCon. card
So
design.
how
Yep,
long
you
have you
got
been
it.
part of player card design?
I would say roughly, I think 3 years now.
3 years.
Go on, yeah, yeah.
Wow. So
Yep.
what do you do? Like, do you work with the players who, once they're awarded a virtual card design, and you guide them essentially?
I mean, I like to think of it more as a collaboration. We try not to guide as much as possible because this is their vision. I think what we do is we get them to kind of talk about what kind of themes and items they want to do, and then we try and push it forward as much as
Hmm.
possible. I think what's really nice about the group that we have, we're sad to see Lenny go, excited to see the new folks coming in, is that we all have our own unique take on how the game works, and I think that that's why D&D works so well too. So I think from that perspective, I always look at thematics, like making sure that something, works in side by side with how it should work in the Star Wars universe to a certain
Hmm.
extent. Obviously, there are folks who like to be more creative. I respect that. But, putting, having a card that has a picture of, I don't know, like a walker, and then making it related to lightsaber combat or something like that. It doesn't, right.
Yeah, it doesn't.
You gotta
That
you gotta
doesn't
have
make
some you
sense.
gotta have some synergy.
And that's all. That's fair, and that makes
Yeah.
sense. So
Well,
over over those 3 years, have there really been any challenges with player card design? Has it been like, I know D&D says, like, I know Chris Kelly says just the most thankless job in the in the PC. It is being a part of player card design. Is that the same thing? Do you guys? Is it easier for you guys? Harder?
I mean, it's probably certainly, I would agree with, it can be tough at times. What I look at is, these people, folks who have won a player card design, they already have an idea in mind typically.
Mm-hmm.
And this is their baby. Like, I think all of us grew up playing this game thinking like what it would be like to design a card. And so you're
Yeah.
designing a card, and I've gone through this process twice myself, between Dengar V as well as the Rebellion's Hope, and you have all these ideas and you put them down, and then people have very valid critiques of that,
True.
but you don't want to necessarily, you gotta be patient and understand that they're not trying to steer you in their direction. They're trying to make sure what's best for the game. And so I think that there can be some disagreements there, but ultimately, it's really a pleasure to work with a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the player card folks who are there. And again, because we have a wide variety, certainly Fungineer comes in with his own ideas. Lenny comes
Yep.
in, CRG, Paul Macbeth. So we all have a unique perspective that I think adds to it.
Okay. So you've designed Dengar and Rebellion's Hope, Luke. Let's start with Dengar. Was there any like really challenges worth making Dengar? Like, I know he isn't like the best bounty hunter out there. Like, he's not. People aren't playing him in all the decks, but
Yeah.
like, how do you feel about having Dengar out there now?
Uh, I personally, I really like him because I think for those who kind of play and have an idea in mind of wanting to build a theme, they want to build a capturing theme. Like, he is a capturing character, and there's a lot of discussion about what is card bloat, like to what extent do we want to minimize that.
Yeah.
To me, having more is always better. It makes it a little bit more challenging for design, but part of the reason why I love this game is yeah, it goes back to, if it's in your head, it's in here, that old deciphered motto. And I
Yeah.
love that that's the way that I think we build this game. So I think you can play this card, back, whether it's, with despair, the old despair before it was eroded, you get a ping every time that
Yeah.
he would capture, and then you get a double ping with that. So there are opportunities there, but I much prefer having mains with a specific role, kind of what Dengar does. So he's a capturing one. He's not
Okay.
ubiquitously good like EPP, in my opinion, right?
True.
Um, and so that has always been something that's been really important to me. I don't like. It's harder for me to appreciate a card that can just fit in anywhere, regardless. So you see EPP Qui-Gon, and you can see him in a lot of different decks,
Even decks he
which is
doesn't.
fine.
Even decks he's not supposed to be in. Just ask Tom Haid. He goes
I
into
remember.
Diplo.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that Obi-Wan brought his bones with him, but
Wow.
you never know. It's a little dark, right?
A little bit.
But
That's okay.
that's the kind of thing that that I really appreciate is building characters where they work with synergy with a specific deck or a couple decks, but outside of that, you can't just splash them in the same respect.
Okay. And according to Chris Kelly, you've also made the second best Luke related player card. Uh, Obviously, he says that Like My Father Before Me is the best Luke related card. I don't know, like you made an actual Luke. He made an effect.
I mean, I'm not going to go there. People can judge for themselves. I was always excited about playing
Right.
kind of the farm boy Luke, like who actually goes out and does something outside of just jumping into no X-wing. And he had a lot that he grew on the Death Star itself, and I think this Luke specifically captures it. And I hope that more people will even see value in potentially playing him not only in the Rescue of the Princess, but explore. He's not bad. He's not as bad as people think he is.
You know, he's good. He's good. He's has a place. He has a place to watch your steps sometimes.
Yep.
I can't like maybe play him in No Idea.
I mean, I've seen some people play him in
Y4?
Profit.
Yeah, Y4
Because
Ops.
ping.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, but he's not good everywhere. You're not going to play him at Hitco. You want Jedi Luke there. So that's where I love the differentiation between the different lanes.
Okay, so really quick right now, we got an update on the June OCS. Dylan is currently still in first place at 12-0.
Nice.
Right on his tail is MHT sitting at 10-0. So no real surprises out there. It looks like
so I can playtest my decks this week.
Yeah, we can avoid the Teemo train. On top of that, with the Boonta Eve Jawa Brawl or the Sandcrawler Summer, well, no surprise there. Teemo is in first place there at being at 10-2. So surprise, surprise. And then after that, I mean, there's really nobody who's challenging him. Ace Mace is currently 8-3. So, and then but Joe Olsen currently sitting at 5-0. So maybe Joe can go on a run and take down Teemo and then there's also Bastion at 6-2. So still got some time. I mean, it ends next month, so get your games in, win some prizes, get Korn. Kendall, who's 0-1, he needs to get some games played. And then if you haven't signed up for Nationals is going to be next month, the weekend of the 15th. 24 players have signed up. Make sure you get out there. If you're going to go, sign up. Also, Friday is the last day to receive the PC-related discount for your hotel rooms for Nationals. So make sure you get your hotel rooms if you're going. Okay, Andrew, are you ready to do some swing and a miss questions?
Let's do it.
Okay, I got 3 questions for tonight. We'll go through these really quick. Okay, the first one is going to be, we're going to talk about a little bit about Set 15. One of the 4 themes from Set 15, whether they're clones, Wookiees, Rescue the Princess, or flagship operations, will be a top 8 deck at Nationals.
I don't see it happening. No. Not yet. It's going to come, but not yet.
Yeah, I'm going to also say miss on this. If like I kind of see let the Wookiee win, maybe possibly sneaking in there, being like a mains platformer type of because that activation can get crazy. But as for Wookiees themselves, there's not enough there yet. We need a Yoda, a friend of Wookiees.
That would be awesome.
Okay, let's see question number 2. Stand by. Map will continue to be the best dark side deck after its most recent errata. Now, I mean, this has been a deck that's gone through, what, 3 erratas?
Yes.
Like,
3 erratas.
First of all, Lenny loves breaking this deck. So, like, seriously. Honestly, even though it lost, like, that whole activation thing, it's still one of the best decks out there. I don't know, like, Darkseid has a lot of options. And I don't know, Map still has that potential. So I mean, I think this is a hit.
So I'm gonna say Shadow Collective. I think in the hands of a really good player,
Okay.
I think that that's the best deck out there right now. Just because it's new.
Yeah.
Um, it's been out for a set, but people didn't play it as much. It's dangerous,
And Maul
and
is
people have
stupid.
played it, and Maul is ridiculously good. So if you're not prepared for it, it's gonna crush you, and it's yeah, it's just good. And I think people have played
Yeah.
enough against map now that they know more of its weaknesses, and especially having to start the Exegol side, if you want to go
Yeah.
that route, it'll slow it down a little. So I'm
Yeah.
going to go with
I mean,
Shadow Collective.
my only thing is map not having the whole Starkiller base package kind of funnels it into Jakku and going towards space. So maybe we'll
Hmm.
see like the Chimera and Thrawn package that was once running around. I don't know. You know what, Lenny, give me a
And I'm going to
make.
run fourth. They're tracking us so
Yeah,
that they don't gravity shot,
yeah,
shot
Lenny,
me.
Lenny, break map again, please.
Yeah.
And for our last question of the night, Doomstacks are officially dead. So if you're part of the Slack channel, first of all, if you're not part of the Slack channel, why are you not on Slack? It's amazing. Uh, there was a little bit of a talk today about Doomstacks. So Doomstacks, are they dead?
I'm going to say it's a hit. I think that we are really moving away from that because we've got decks that can spread. So if people are willing to go in that direction, like Legend got a little bit of help, but they typically stacked
Yeah.
on one side. Map got hit a little bit, and they want to stack on a site or one or two sites, and then they're going to come crush you
Mm-hmm.
wherever they are. But with a deck like Rescue the Princess, I think that that is one in which you can spread pretty easily, and you have
Yeah.
your little escape portions. I think UMC comes back because I think Court takes a little bit of a hit, so they can spread out against a deck
Yeah,
like
that's a
that.
good point. Yeah. And I think
Um,
Court, I mean, QFC is like a sleeping giant to me right now. Uh,
it's good.
yeah, I'm gonna say it's a hit as well. Like I still see decks like CCT where you want to just like put a few characters down to the audience chamber, and but most of the players realize you ignore the audience chamber and you go
Right.
to Cloud City, drain for two there, or but I mean same with like Court. You avoid the audience chamber because the audience chamber is death.
Right. Yeah,
So
no, I agree. And I think that especially if you see more Menace Fades, it's really
yeah,
hard to doomstack at this point.
yeah,
So
I
I think
agree.
you're going to see more of that.
Okay, so really quick, let's check in on our June deck building challenge. There have been no updates, so Justin Miyashiro, JagTag, looks like you're. I mean, there's what 7 days left in the month. Come on, people! Literally, like next Wednesday is the last day to get these in. So, I, I'm all for my boy Justin, but this one's easy, and it's Jawa themed. Come on, who doesn't like Jawas?
Couldn't agree. Couldn't agree more.
So, Mr. Andrew Moss, you know what time it is.
What time is it?
It's your lore challenge time.
All right, let's go for it.
Okay, so again, the thing is, I'm going to read the lore to you. You get one hint. You can either guess
Okay.
you can either ask for the type of card or the set,
Okay. Okay.
and then I can read the lore again. I can try and help you as much as I can, but that's what you get. Are you
All
ready?
right. Let's do it.
Your lore challenge is hologram technology allows efficient communication of complex intelligence during war room briefings. Do you want the set or do you want the type?
Can I just make a guess?
You can make a guess if you want to. I like this.
Is it critical planning?
Critical planning. Critical planning. No, it is not critical planning. But
All right.
I will give you one more chance because you did it without the hint. Would you like the set
Okay.
or would you like the type?
Give me the type.
It is an interrupt.
I knew this. All right. Can you please repeat it then one more time?
Hologram technology allows efficient communication of complex intelligence during war room briefings.
I
Now,
can picture this.
I
I can picture this card. Like it's
what scene is it?
it's Home One War Room. Is it that? Yeah. It's one where you can actually put a card underneath your deck or something like that. Like I think I know the game text.
You
It
were
really
close. Okay, give,
uh
if you can give me the game text, I'll give you the card. I'll give you the prize.
so if your leader is at a war room, I think it's like you can peek, and then move that card to the bottom or something like that.
That's close enough. The fact that you actually know that is impresses me so much. So, and I will say this: you were really close on the card. Critical error revealed.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, dang. Like
I try. I
you
try. I
no, that
mean,
you got that. Like you didn't. No, you did better than anybody else I expected. So, and you know what? Do you know what you win?
what's that?
You have you, and I'm going to release this tonight just for the first time ever. If you have won and not received a prize from me, please let me know because these are official, and I will be giving these out starting at Nationals. They are 6 cards. They are packs of 6 cards. Sorry, of the Holotheatre Hosts and Heroes set. So
That is awesome.
in these packs, you will receive 2 V cards, an actual Star Wars card. You will receive 2 V cards of one of the hosts of Holotheatre, and then you will receive a foil of one of those cards. Now, on top of that, there are so the foils are obviously the rares. On top of that, there are super rares and ultra rares. The super rares are AIs of certain hosts, and including a spoiler alert, Japanese Holotheatre.
That is incredible.
Those will be in, I believe it's 1 in every 10 packs, and then you can get one of the host cards signed by the host, and those are going to be in 1 in every 20 packs. So again, I will start giving these out at Nationals. So if you need another incentive to go to Nationals, here you go. So and there it is, right on the screen. The pack themselves, Ming created this for us. So I'm
Nice.
super excited to have these. These are done and ready to be printed. I will be starting to print them this week, and then again, starting at Nationals. I'm going to be starting to give these out. So, and they've been coming for a while. We went through some issues with them. Legal wanted us to do one thing. I said, no, no, no. This is my thing. I want to do it my way. Screw legal. I am the Senate.
You are the Senate. You are the Senate. Exactly. Yeah.
But no, this is what we're going to be doing. So, and yes, there are going to be expansions onto this based on the years and everything. So, congrats. Congrats on getting that lore challenge, by the way. That was awesome. And yeah, and
Spent way
also
too much time reading the lore, I guess. But I always enjoy it. It's one of my
that's
favorite parts of the card game.
right. Like
Yeah.
no other game gives you like I can't think of any other game that gives you a little bit of like lore to the game itself. Like I know Magic doesn't. Okay, it has like that little bit of like on some cards it has like something like that. Pokemon sometimes it does, but nothing like this. Like I love the little
No.
Easter eggs that Decipher did. I really wish Design did more Easter eggs on the cards. Like Jana from episode 9 is in the set. Well, she goes on top of the Corporal Beezer. Come on, we missed a great thing. She should have gone on top of the Yopi. Like seriously, who wasn't thinking this? I don't know.
Next time. Next time.
Next time.
You got to get your ideas right in there from the outset. Just lay it
Yeah,
out there.
yeah, but nobody listens to me.
That's not true. Everyone listens to you. You're on the Holotheatre. You're a host of the Holotheatre.
Doesn't mean anything. I kid. So again, thank you, Andrew, for everything you've done for Set 15. I can't wait to play Rescue the Princess now that it is live 100% out there on GEMP. I know that the SoCal people were going to be having a tournament in July 10th, so maybe I'll build a Rescue the Princess. Like, I'll build it completely thematic, no Episode 7 characters whatsoever. You know, just make it crazy like that. But we'll see.
It's doable. That's
Yeah.
always the deck challenge. Like it's its own deck challenge at that point. But no, it's been a pleasure, Dan. And
Yeah.
I hope people out there love Set 15. I think there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears putting in to Rescue the Princess. And I hope it's if you guys previously created a version, hopefully this is something that matches what you had in your own iteration. So we're excited to see what comes out there, and certainly looking forward to nationals and beyond.
Awesome. Yeah, and I can't wait for Nationals. I can't wait till Worlds. The prize support that's going to be out there for Nationals is really nice. Scott and the rest of the marketing team are working on some great things. So I can't wait for it. So if you're not signed up, I know Adam bought last week. Kane, CEO, Adam bought. He's a Colorado guy. He's got free access to Nationals that entire weekend for me. So can't wait for it. It's going to be an awesome event. If you haven't signed up, make sure you get out there. It's going to be great. Yeah. So again, next week on Holotheatre, Scott is going to come back to go over some of the things he talked about last week with the deck builder and some of the other projects that he's currently working on, which is a crap ton. Until then, as always, I'm Dan Tartaglione, joined by my special guest tonight, Andrew Moss. Again, thank you, Andrews. And until next week, I will see you guys later. Take care.
Sounds great, guys. Take care.